Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out a diesel heater from Sunster. Let's go ahead and open up the TB10. Is a small box with what looks like the power brick and the AC adapter, because you can plug this diesel heater in to a wall socket for either I believe 110 voltage, or actually it does 220 depending on your area. We also have the user's manual right here, and then the diesel heater. And underneath the diesel heater we have looks like a heat outlet vent, which looks to be pretty long, an exhaust cover to reduce the amount of heat that's being generated from your exhaust so you're not burning everything. An air heater remote control, so it's a separate wireless remote. And then here is probably a box of accessories. All right, now that I got this unboxed, let's go ahead and just look at the exterior of this Sunster. First of all, it is a toolbox design, so it does have this toolbox handle. I'll go ahead and put on the screen the dimensions of this unit along with just some of the features that it has externally. Let's go ahead and weigh it and see how much it weighs. It looks like it weighs about 16.6 pounds. And that, of course, is without any fuel. This does have a 6-liter tank inside. And you access the tank by just opening this up like you would a regular toolbox. And the tank is right here. It does come with just a standard fuel cap. Nothing special about it. And besides that, you really don't have much access to anything else inside the unit unless you really want to go nuts and start taking everything out. When you close this up, make sure that you have the data communication cable inside the toolbox. You don't want to pinch it. And with mine, I kind of need to shift the lid forward a little bit to close it all the way. But that is no big deal. When it comes to construction of this diesel heater, it is a hard plastic on top with 2 clear containers on the top. One houses the communication screen, and the other houses the wireless remote, which it says it can handle a distance up to 260 feet. There is also the yellow handle, and on front everything else is pretty plain. Like I said, hard plastic on top. The casing, this gray casing, is metal. And right down here, you will see that this is the filter for the air intake. And there is actually a small filter inside. It's not just holes that go in. There's an actual screen inside. It's not very dense, but it's something. On this side of the unit, you have your hot air outlet, and you have your fuel gauge right here. On the back, we do have our exhaust port for our CO exhaust. And on this side, you will see the air inlet along with your power plug. If we look at the bottom, you can see that this is a right angle exhaust. And I do like the fact that they put in a heat sleeve right here at the bottom. So there's less of a chance of you melting or burning whatever you're setting it on. And here is your air intake right here and your fuel line. And then there is a cap that goes with your exhaust. What's nice about these toolbox diesel heaters is the fact that they're kind of an all-in-one unit. So it makes it very easy to get up and running in just a few minutes. All we're going to need to do is put on the hose for the air outlet if you want to. And we'll want to connect the exhaust port right here, the exhaust pipe. All right, and also from what I've read, this right here, this Sunster diesel heater is probably going to be the smartest diesel heater that I've reviewed so far. And I've reviewed like 5 or 6 diesel heaters. This one is actually gonna be able to connect to my Wi-Fi in my house. So that way I could turn this diesel heater on from anywhere in the world with my smartphone. Because this diesel heater is Bluetooth compatible, Wi-Fi compatible, It has an app for your phone. It has a remote, so if you just want to turn it on and off from from inside your tent. And you can also do stuff right from the display on the unit. And in this box of goodies that it comes with, there is also a plug to dedicated ring terminals for a dedicated 12 volt or 24 volt battery. This is a extension cable for the data communication right here, for the data screen. So if you open this up, there is a plug right inside. Pop it open, and you can see right here is the plug for the data screen, for the communication screen. And this right here is the extension cable. All right, I just measured this data cable out. It is 13 feet long. So that gives you 13 more feet of coverage from the actual diesel heater to put the head unit. So that could come in handy if you live in an RV or something like that where your diesel heater is outside and you want to port in that communication. Other things in this box are hose clamps, your muffler right here, and your muffler pipe right here. Now, one thing I haven't talked about yet is this air heater remote control. And here we go. It says air heater remote control. And it looks like it needs 3 AAA batteries in order to operate. So we'll have to get that working as well. All right, I said earlier that I really like the hose that came with it, and I still do. But the one thing that I noticed that didn't come with it is any kind of air direction device, so like an end cap on here. Kind of like with this one right here that I got from another diesel heater company. For my test, I am going to go ahead and take this off and try to clamp it on here to make sure it works. And then I'm going to run this thing into a piece of wood that I have cut out from my window, which I've done in a previous video. So let's get this gassed up or dieseled up. Let's go ahead and hook it up into my window setup and see how much heat it outputs and how loud it is. All right, well, I've got this whole thing all connected and ready to go except for putting it on the battery. Now, I've run into a couple of things that I thought were nice, but they could be kind of a hindrance. First of all, this battery connection right here, I didn't realize that these ring terminals are M6 terminals. They're not M8. I was going to connect it to this Power Queen 100 amp hour battery back here, but those are M8 terminal connections. So you would either need to cut these off and put M8 connections on to a 14 or 16 gauge wire, or you would need to have a battery that has M6 connections. I just happen to have one battery that has M6 connections, and it's a 50 amp hour, which I wouldn't want to use this, but it does have M6 connections, so I'm going to go ahead and use it for this demonstration. And you know, since I'm actually doing this for the first time, I don't know what's going to happen with this diesel heater. I don't think I want to vent it right into my house without testing to make sure it doesn't start blowing out a bunch of toxic fumes from the heat outlet. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it from the house, and we'll kind of run it outside for a little bit first, just to make sure everything's fine. We're also going to kind of monitor the exhaust down here to see how much, if there's any kind of white smoke that pours out. All right, well, I went ahead and disconnected the hose, but I'm going to keep it long because, I mean, that's how I'm going to use this. So I want to know how much heat is coming out of this part right here after it goes through about, 5 or 6 feet of hose. Also, I'm going to use the IR camera to monitor how hot the exhaust is. And so let's go ahead and start it up. Everything else is connected. I think we'll go ahead and use the remote and just see if it just turns it right on. I haven't done anything with this remote before, so let's just go ahead and hit the, let's open this so we can actually maybe see. And we'll hit the on button and see what happens. Again, I put about a quarter tank of diesel in here, and that's all I've done. I haven't tried to prime it, or I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just gonna hit on, see if it starts up. So let's go.
Start heating.
All right, on that display, you can see it right there. You can see it says 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The fan speed is in the bottom. I think it says minimum and it's at like 3 right now. Elevation is 0.2 kilometers above sea level. And it looks like it is trying to start up right now. Oh, here we go. You can hear the ticking of the fuel pump right there. This ticking right here before the diesel heater actually starts up, that is completely normal. That's always going to happen. There is a little bit of air blowing out of here, but it's not very warm. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and start it off with max heat. But it looks like this is the off-on button. These are the up and down arrows to increase or decrease your fan level. This is the on-off button. This changes between like an automatic heating, so it keeps it at a certain temperature, or if it will be a like a steady heating level. And this switches it back. This, I'm not really sure what that is. I'll have to look. Oh, that's just a fan. We don't want that. So that's just a fan right there. And this thing is making noises I've never heard before. It sounds like an engine starting up. The outlet fan is starting to increase. It's been only a few minutes. But look at this. A little bit of smoke coming off of, probably this thing is getting so hot that it's starting to smoke. There is no smoke coming out of the exhaust though. There's no white smoke at all, which is good. And it's hot, so this thing is starting to heat up. The outlet is still, I mean, it's only body temperature right now. It's probably 95 or 100 degrees, which is not impressive. And this heat shield sleeve is starting to smoke because it's getting so hot. Hopefully that calms down after a while. Because honestly, it doesn't really smell that good. Yeah, look at that thing. And honestly, if it keeps doing that, I'm hoping that it's kind of burning something off and that it'll stop. But if it keeps doing that, I am not going to recommend putting that thing on there. Because right now I feel like it's going, you know, it looks like it's blowing towards my house. It's blowing probably towards the inlet of the diesel heater itself. So that smoke would get sucked in and blown out the heat part of the unit. All right, outlet, that is nice hot air now. You know, it only took, what, maybe 4 or 5 minutes for this thing to reach heat. But that sleeve is smoking. So let me go get an IR camera and let's go find out what kind of heat we're dealing with. All right, here is what we're looking at for the full unit. You can see the exhaust is 340 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And that thing is just smoking hot. So we're gonna leave it on there for the duration to hopefully see that smoke go away. You can see the hot air outlet right here. And if we measure that right at the external, we're looking at 160 degrees, 165 possibly. So it is blowing out some hot air, which is very nice. And there's nothing coming out. It's just nice, clean, hot air. So I'll be connecting it to my house here in just a few minutes. That exhaust, like I said, you're looking at 375 degrees Fahrenheit on that exhaust. All right, this sleeve right here, I wouldn't even bother. Putting this on. I thought it was a good idea, but it gets so hot that whatever you're trying to protect, you just need to get farther away from it. I don't think this sleeve is really gonna do anything magical. But I do notice that the smoke has gone away. So let's go ahead and flip it over and see it starts smoking immediately again. And this sleeve is, you know, over 300 degrees. So it doesn't magically take the heat away from the exhaust. The heat blowing out of this unit is, 167 degrees. That is really good. All right, while this thing's still smoking hot, and again, I'm gonna wait for it to kind of calm down before I connect this up to my house. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the user's manual right here. And there's a QR code on the back that you can download the app. So I'm gonna go ahead and download the app right now and see how easy it is to connect. Okay, it does say that you should register, which I don't really like doing that, but I don't mind. I know a lot of people do though, but at the bottom it says use a Bluetooth device without registration. So hopefully they give you that option. We'll go ahead and click on that. And it kind of bypasses the whole login idea. So that's a really good option. All right, after I clicked on just use it via Bluetooth, no registration required, it was super easy. It just asked me for permission to use my Bluetooth and location, and then it found the device. I didn't have to touch anything on the device. It found it. I clicked, that's the one I want, and it came up with this screen right here. I'll go ahead and put it on the screen. On this app, it looks like it shows room temperature is 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 57, and the power level is 10. And then it shows run status on, altitude 220 meters, voltage is 13.1 volts, and body temperature is 429 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the internal temperature of the unit, like right at the heat exchanger. It also shows level, and then you can switch it from level to probably thermostat, and it automatically switches because I want it set for 75 degrees Fahrenheit is what it's set, so it's actually lowering the power level down automatically. You can also switch it to fan or to plus. So I think plus might actually mean just give me as much heat as you can, because it goes to max when I hit plus. And if you just hit level, it can only go to level 10. The smoke is really diminished from the heat sleeve on the exhaust right there, so I'm gonna go ahead and hook this thing up to my house. Then we're gonna go inside, find some AAA batteries for that remote, and we'll see how easy that is to pair. All right, well, I am back in my house, and here is where the hot air is coming in. Now, I'm gonna be quiet for a second. One thing I noticed is that there is no ticking that I can hear from inside the house. Now, I'm not really surprised by that because I'm inside the house. But let's go ahead and open this window a little bit. And still, the diesel heater is just right outside the window. And I don't hear any ticking. See, there's the diesel heater right there. And there's no ticking that I can hear. I'm sure if we got right next to the unit, but I'm only probably 3 to 4 feet away. And that's excellent. I like the feeling that I can hook this up, blow it into my house, and no, I don't hear the ticking outside. But now it's time to kind of mess with this external remote that it came with. Now, I haven't done anything with this besides put some AAA batteries in the back. It takes 3. So I see that there is a power button right here. I'm going to go ahead and press that. All right, and it turned on. And it shows that 64 degrees. And it shows a Bluetooth symbol flashing and a Wi-Fi symbol. And it shows a house right there. Now, since the Bluetooth is flashing, I don't believe it is connected to the unit. So let me try to find out how to connect this to the unit. Okay, well, I got it. And if you want to use this remote, don't bother looking through any of the manuals or anything like that, because none of them are really correct. There's parts of some and parts of others. But there is a QR code right there in the upper right-hand corner of this piece of paper. Use that and it takes you to a YouTube video that shows you exactly what to do. What you do is you long press the plus button on this for 8 to 10 seconds until the Bluetooth icon displays, and then you go over to your display and you hold down the power and the right button at the same time for a couple seconds, and it will display, and then it will say SUC, which means successful. And that means that they're paired up successfully, and that's all it took. So either watch that YouTube video or just do that. Hold down that button for 8 seconds, hold down the power and the plus. The unit has to be off also. The diesel heater is now using this to control the temperature of which it thinks it is. It's not using the actual controller on the unit. So that's actually kind of nice because you can keep this at a certain temperature, and the unit will follow this temperature and not the temperature on the device outside. Because right now I have it set to, let's see, I have it set for 75. So this thing will run until it reaches 75 degrees, and then hopefully it'll start slowing down. So let's see. Let's go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and put it kind of right next to this vent here. All right, we're now at 77. So you can see the power level is starting to go down. It's controlled by this one. So the power level is dropping. And this says, I mean, I believe this says LEU, but I think that means level. But if you switch it to thermo, see that switches to now it says temperature, probably TEP, probably temp. So it's switching along with your phone. Okay, so what do I think of the Sunster diesel heater? Well, this thing has a lot of technology involved with it. And the documentation really doesn't do it justice because the documentation's kind of all over the place. But for the most part, this thing works great. You know, I just put diesel in it. I connected up the exhaust, connected up the vent, started it up, no issues whatsoever. Downloaded the app on my phone, connected right up. Again, you could log in and use it like that. And when you do log in, I think that's where you get the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi features. But since we were just connecting like a guest via Bluetooth, I only got the Bluetooth feature. But anyway, it was very simple. When it came to the air heater wireless remote control, that's where the instructions were kind of all over the place. But if you follow that QR code that's right there in the corner of these instructions, it's super easy. But don't get confused by all the other instructions on how to pair it. Just follow that QR code video. When it came to the equipment, it came with that extendable outlet hose, which was very nice, even though those hoses are a little flimsy and they're a little difficult to fit on the actual diesel heater and any kind of accessory that you have. So keep that in mind. But they are very nice. Again, that was like 6 or 7 feet. It also came with that extension, so if you do want your controller that's on the unit to be somewhere else, you have, again, 13 more feet that came available. When it came to that heat sleeve that was on the exhaust, I honestly don't recommend that. It's out there on it currently and it's still smoking a little bit, and this thing's been running for over an hour. If you really insist on using them, I would do a break-in period of hours before using that, because even if you turn that thing over, it will just start smoking again because the other side hasn't been burned in. Honestly, if you need that, you need to adjust your whole setup and just give yourself more of an airflow for that pipe. When it came to the temperatures, the exhaust is going to be over 300 degrees. The outlet air coming out is nice and dry, and we're looking at 160 degrees after that 6 feet of pipe, which is great. It's nice, hot, dry air. Another thing about the unit that I just didn't like, and it was one of the accessories, was the battery connection, the direct battery connection. The ringlets were M6 ringlets, when most batteries out there, at least in my opinion, are going to be M8. So I really think that Sunster should switch that to an M8 ringlet instead of those M6s. So if you have any questions about the Sunster diesel heater, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. I have a link to this item and everything else I used in my description, just in case you want to look further into it. Thank you again, and have a great day. Bye-bye.